I am Roberta Winters, President of the League of Women Voters of Radnor Township. I will be serving to moderate the initial part of this forum on public safety. Prior to the end of this event, I will turn this role over to Ann Albright, who is on my left. She's also an active League member who has previously served on a local board. She will moderate the conclusion and question and answer period. Let's begin by pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In response to a request from a member of the public, the League Board invited Superintendent Colarulo to one of our meetings several months ago. Our purpose was to better understand the role of Town Watch and to provide suggestions as to other ways in which this group might serve the public. We were fascinated by the depth and breadth of information Superintendent Colarulo shared with us and thought everyone in Radnor should know about what we had learned. We thus asked if he would work with us to provide a forum for the public. The result of this collaboration is what we have this evening. It is being televised now and will be shown frequently on our local television channels, so those of you who would like to share this with your neighbors and friends, please tell them to watch television. The format will be as followed. Each of the members of the public safety team before you on the panel will provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of their roles and what you should do to help protect yourself and your property. This is particularly important during summer vacation season. Following all the presentations, audience members can raise their hands and a League member will come to you with a microphone so that you may address your questions to a member of the panel. We will discourage personal stories. Please keep your questions short and to the point so that all present have a turn if needed. Prior to the conclusion of the forum, we will ask each panelist to make a closing statement of 3 to 5 minutes if they so desire. First, we will hear from Superintendent Colarulo, who came to Radnor from the Philadelphia Police Force, where he served as Chief Inspector. We would like him to set the stage for tonight's event by sharing some of the types of incidents he has handled during his more than 5 years in Radnor. Superintendent Colarulo?
Well, thank you, Dr. Winters. And, I told Dr. Winters the other day on the phone, she epitomizes class. She really does. Everything she does when she comes to our Board of Commissioners meetings, when she organizes these things, she's always consistently the same type of person. And I really admire that, as well as the League of Women Voters for what you do is really remarkable. If I could just really quickly acknowledge the President of the Board of Commissioners, Phil R. is here, as well as many avid supporters of the Radnor Police, some of the residents from Garrett Hill, as well as some graduates from the Citizens Police Academy are here, so thank you for coming out. Real quickly, I just want to, if I could just introduce some of the people. To my left, which would be to your far right, is Mr. John Tolucci. He's also one of the first graduates of our Citizens Police Academy, and he runs our Town Watch. And to his right is Jeff Stacy, who brought that idea through Commissioner Curley, who called us a couple of times and told us that Jeff Stacy was interested in starting a Citizens Police Academy here. And Jeff Stacy is basically the founding father for bringing that to Radnor, and he's been with us ever since. And to Jeff's right is, we affectionately call him Stevie G. If you see your itinerary, you see the name Gian. Go ahead, Steve.
Gian Cristoforo.
Gian Cristoforo. It's a mouthful, isn't it? He is not only our IT guy here in Radnor, but he's also like the guru as far as police communications. And one of the questions that came up when I met with the League of Women Voters is, I guess, 911 etiquette, about when you call 911 and you get a call taker that handles your calls, some of the information they're going to ask for and some of the information that you don't have to give that you may feel compelled to give. I know a couple of you had problems. I remember Sarah telling me sometimes, Sarah Pilling, she would call 911 and they would send her to a different dispatch. It wouldn't go to Delcom. So that's a couple of things Stevie G will talk about. To my immediate right is one of my lieutenants. It's Andy Block. And Andy currently is in charge of special operations, which entails the Detective Division, Traffic Safety Unit, and Narcotics. And to Andy's right is the other lieutenant here, Lieutenant Christopher Flanagan, and Chris runs operations, also very instrumental in the Citizens Police Academy. And to Chris's right is Kevin Gallagher, Corporal Kevin Gallagher. He handles just about everything. And he's our go-to guy, and if you doubt that, I'll show you his desk, and you'll see what a mess it is. And then to Kevin's right is Detective T.J. Schreiber, and he was not on our agenda, but Lieutenant Block thought it was incumbent for him to be here because a lot of our crimes are cyber in nature, or they have a technological link to them, whether a cell phone is being used or some type of Facebook or what do we call that now? Media? Social media, thank you very much. And TJ is an expert, I could say, very comfortably in that field, so that is why he's here. One of the things Roberta mentioned regarding some of the more interesting cases we've handled, just real quickly, some of the things that come to mind. Let me go through, in 30 seconds or less, the most bizarre types of calls we've gotten since I've been in Radnor. People have called to remove turtles out of their yards, bats in their house, a hissing cat. But my very favorite, I came in one day and I read the incidents, and I just kept thinking of my parents having to call the police for this reason, and this is true because Lieutenant Flanagan went out to talk to the parents the next day. They called because their 15-year-old son refused to get out of bed to go to school. So they called the Radnor police. So Lieutenant Flanagan very politely went over there and said, "That's not our job, that's your job." Now, I don't know how you were brought up, but could you imagine telling your parents, "I'm not getting out of bed," you know? So there were some of the more bizarre calls we've gotten. Some of the more significant cases we had some pretty big drug arrests from the, I guess, the LSD cases at Villanova to the McDonald's worker selling crack cocaine from the drive-through window. We've also had a couple of significant arrests regarding marijuana that happened, where we found out people were dealing to the students for a long time. We closed down a massage parlor recently that's been up and running for a number of years. We also had a murder-suicide on South Wayne Avenue. I remember Detective Schreiber and I were out on that. Pretty sad case. Unfortunately, we also had a police suicide that was very sobering for all of our employees in Radnor Township. So there are some of the most probably prevalent cases that I can think of. Having said that, the majority of our calls have to do with traffic and noise complaints, disorderly crowds, and hopefully that stays that way. We do have, if I have to say one type of crime that we see on an uptick, would probably be thefts from autos. And the thefts from autos are big, mostly because people still do not do what? They don't lock their car door, exactly. So that's my 5 minutes, and I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Winters so we can move on with this agenda.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Lieutenant Andy Block, who has served on the Radnor Force since 1990. He holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree from Newman University in Aston and a Master's of Science in Public Safety Administration and Management from St. Joseph's University. He is also a graduate of the 250th session of the FBI's National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. In addition to the above and attached assignments, he's also on the use of force and firearms instructor. He's a liaison with the Radnor Township School District's ASK program, which is Alliance for Safety Kids, for Safe Kids. He's a commander of the Drug Task Force Unit, an active shooter instructor for the police department. In the past, he has supervised the Patrol Division, the Traffic Safety Unit, and the Detective Bureau. Additionally, he is an instructor in the use of force and firearms, and he will provide a lot of pointers for us this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Dr. Winters, for that introduction. And I want to welcome everybody here to the Radnor Township Municipal Building for this forum. I think it's a very important aspect of what we do with our community. We are very community-oriented as far as our policing is concerned, as you just heard from Superintendent Colarulo on all types of calls that we handle. We are a full-service police department. If you call, we're coming to investigate no matter what it may be. This evening, my focus for the next few minutes is just to provide you with an overview of some of the trends that we're seeing in the township. Overall, we're in very good shape with respect to our crime rates, but there are some areas the superintendent already touched on it, is one of the areas that we need to really promote some awareness is about being proactive about locking our cars and things of that nature. The first area that I want to talk about, though, is our property crimes, our burglaries. Everybody in this general area in the 5-county region tends to have problems with the property crimes and the burglaries, simply because a lot of times it's a crime of opportunity for somebody that is casing a neighborhood to be able to walk up, break into a house, and they can be in and out within 3 to 5 minutes with jewelry and other high-end products and whatnot. So just to give everybody an overview and a snapshot, because we don't have a lot of time this evening, but in 2015, year to date, this time last year, we had experienced 15 residential and commercial burglaries in the township. For 2015, we experienced a total of 30 throughout the year. It's down significantly over the last 5 years. Our high years was putting the residential burglaries in the area of 70 to 75 back from 2008, 2009. And that's when we were experiencing a recession at the time. So that's one of the drivers or the factors that's involved in it. So this year, we're at 17 year to date as far as the burglaries are concerned. Now, below it, you'll see a clearance rate. And you may ask yourself, what is a clearance rate? Clearance rate is when we make an arrest, and it's called under the Uniform Crime Reporting statutes, it's the clearance of that actual crime. So this year, year to date, of the 17 burglaries, we have a 47% clearance rate, which is an excellent clearance rate, and I credit that to the detectives and the patrol officers working hand in hand when they receive these crimes, that they have an immediate response. A lot of it is technology driven on how the solvability of it, as well as forensics. And there's 2 cases I'll talk about. So our clearance rate is high. Under the Uniform Crime Reports with the FBI, the average clearance rate for burglaries in this country is 12%. So we're doing something right here. And 2 of the cases that I'll briefly talk about is the beginning of the year, we received a call for a burglar alarm at the Wawa on Sugartown Road. Officers arrived. It was 1:30 in the morning. The Wawa was closed because it was New Year's Eve and New Year's morning. The officers went around the back of the building and they realized that the wall had been breached. Somebody had actually breached through a cinder block wall. The detectives were called. They came in working with the patrol officers. What had happened was they were able to get video of the individual behind the Wawa using a AC power, electrical powered jackhammer that was able to take the wall out. The minute the individual stepped inside the Wawa, it triggered the alarm and he fled from the area. The one thing that the officers and detectives were very astute to is they were watching the video, and through the course of his commission of the crime, breaking into the Wawa, they noticed that he stopped and he urinated on the wall. So they immediately swabbed that area. That information and that evidence was brought back, and it was ultimately submitted to the FBI lab, where we were able to get a DNA profile that was extracted from that swab. And as a result of that, that profile was entered into CODIS, which is the DNA master database, and it came back with a suspect, and we subsequently located that individual and arrested him. So this is an example of how your detectives and patrol officers are trained in this township to the highest standard and using those traits and that technique to solve crimes. Another similar incident we had that was based on technology is in the early morning hours back in March, there was a burglary down on Ashwood Road. Where the people were at home. They woke up, they realized that their vehicle was missing. They called 911 immediately. Patrol officers responded, detectives responded in there, and in the vehicle, at the time it was stolen, there was a cell phone, and the cell phone was on. And as a result of that, they were able to use the tracking devices to locate where the vehicle was. The perpetrator that committed the burglary did not realize that this cell phone was in the car. It was originally located in West Philadelphia, and it came out to Upper Darby, where that individual was located in an alley. There was a brief foot pursuit with the Upper Darby and Philadelphia officers, and then that person was taken into custody. So again, you can see where some of our clearance rates come and why we're very successful with it. And it's because of the training, quite frankly, that we send our people to. So we talk about burglaries and how do we prevent them? It's an issue that every community has. So one of the things that we have here in Radnor Township is the vacant house watch. If you go away for any period of time, we ask you to either call up or go online. You can register your house as being unoccupied. It's a secured network when we get this information, and our patrol officers will check it on a daily basis while you're out. So it's not only for security reasons, but also property maintenance issues. Sometimes they'll be walking around the house and they'll hear water running inside if it's extreme weather conditions such as cold weather with a broken pipe. So we can mitigate some property issues as well. If you are going away, stop all mail and newspaper deliveries. That's one thing that we recommend simply because it's a calling card. If people see the mail piling up, if the potential burglars that are casing a neighborhood see that, or the newspapers piling up in the driveway. If you have burglar alarm systems, we always recommend you use them. Use timers for your lights for interior and exterior, different times of the day, late afternoon, early evening, late night, where they go on and off. It gives that appearance that the residence is still occupied. And there's also smart technology applications that we have present day now. And basically what they entail is that you can actually operate your alarm system from your cell phone with those smart applications. And what happens is you can monitor who's coming in, who's coming out of the house. There are actually IP cameras that may be backed up to a DVR that you can see real time who's in your house. There was just recently an incident in Lower Merion with a residential burglary where the actor broke into the residence. They were able to get him on camera while he was actually committing the crime because of the system they had. And as a result of that, that information was taken and they identified the person that committed the burglary. So technology, once again, we see is on the forefront of making our personal lives much more safer. So you also have the occupied management with these applications. So you could actually program it to when your door's opening and closing to the residence. So sometimes it's good if you've got younger children that are at home, so you know who's in the house, who's not in the house, but that's how far down our technology has drilled with respect to the surveillance for the residents. So there's some things that are out there that we want the public to be aware of as far as the prevention is concerned. The other thing is on the exterior residence, always keep your shrubbery trimmed around the perimeter of the house. This way, if people are walking by, the perpetrators can't use that area to secrete themselves to try to work on a window or a door. You're going to just harden your target. Be aware of persons that are posing as solicitors that go door to door. That's very big this time of year right now. So if you get a knock on the door and somebody is a solicitor, if they are soliciting for a for-profit organization, they have to have a vendor's license issued by the police department. That vendor's license is signed and it has their information as well as their photo on it. So that's the first thing you should request. Do you have a vendor's license if they're trying to sell a product? The nonprofit agencies, the 501c3s, are permitted under Township ordinance to go door to door for solicitation for the nonprofits. So they would not have a vendor's permit. But nonetheless, if somebody shows up at your door and you don't feel right about that, that's a 911 call. We'll have officers come out and they'll verify who these individuals are, because sometimes people are unscrupulous and are using that as a fence to come up and basically case the neighborhood or see if somebody's at the residence. They'll knock on the front door a few times. If nobody answers, they'll walk around the back, and that's when a lot of times they'll force entry into the residence. So we want people to be aware of that. Don't open your doors to strangers, simply because you can talk through the storm door, through the glass, whatever it might be. They can show you the ID. If they're not being cooperative with you, again, make sure you don't open the door and just notify 911. We talked about the vendor's permit. There's also distraction burglaries and gypsy scams that are going on in the area right now. Distraction burglaries, we've seen a rise over the last 3 weeks in the 5-county region. That's where you may be out gardening. Somebody may walk up to you. They may engage you saying that they have a product that they want to talk to you about. While they have distracted you from your residence, from what's going on, somebody else is working the neighborhood, and they may come around. They'll do the end round through the rear of the house. They'll usually hit the bedroom area, and they're looking for cash and jewelry. But this is occurring while you're being distracted out front. So be aware of that anytime that somebody comes up in those situations. And we talk, and that really goes into the gypsy scams that we see, where people will show up and say that you need a new roof. If you give me $5,000 deposit, I'll take care of the roof for you. Or I have extra material, I can seal coat your driveway. These are unannounced calls. You don't know who these individuals are, so we recommend that you don't deal with them. All right, so when in doubt, call 911. The other thing that the chief spoke about, and I'm winding down here, were the theft from our motor vehicles. Year to date, we've seen an increase. We had 64 so far. This time last year, we had 54, and there was a total of 148 for the year. So again, as the chief stated, the overwhelming majority of the vehicles were unlocked when this occurred. So simply locking, a little bit of prevention goes a long way. And the last thing I just want to talk about are the phone scams. Many of you are very familiar with this. The IRS phone scams, that they call and say that you failed to pay your taxes, there's a warrant for your arrest. If you don't wire money within the 15 minutes, we're going to be out to arrest you. The bail money phone scam, where there's an individual in your family, they say that your son or daughter or grandson, they were arrested, and you need money wired to them immediately so that they can bail them out of jail or for legal defense. And then the emergency room phone scam, that it's a resident or a family member that was injured and they need money right away for that. So in those situations, we just advise you to stay away from it and just call 911. And I thank you for your time.
Could I just interject something real quickly regarding what Lieutenant Block just said? The IRS announced today they have a new protocol to try to avoid these scams, because you know what the scam was. They'd call you up, we have a warrant for your arrest, you have to send us money right away. The IRS announced today that their new protocol is if there is any kind of discrepancy, they're going to send you a letter and give you 2 weeks. And if you don't respond to the letter in 2 weeks, then they will call your residence, because they're trying to cut down on scams. And one of the worst scams I've ever seen was in Philadelphia, because I know that my mom and a lot of elderly people would have fallen for this. A priest and a nun came to the house and said that they were there to bless the home. And while the senior citizen was engaged in a conversation with the nun in the living room, the priest was going through the house, blessing the house. Obviously, they were not religious people, and he was ransacking the house. It was a distraction burglary and a scam that was going on at the same time. So the bottom line is, if you don't have an appointment for someone to show up, like Andy said, you don't let anybody in your home, ever.
Thank you. Lieutenant Flanagan is next, and he has served as a police officer since 1998. He was recognized this year for his high-profile arrest and has also collaborated with Villanova security staff in dealing with on-campus incidents. Before moving up the ladder in the department, Lieutenant Flanagan was a patrol officer for 14 years in Radnor. He knows our streets and roads like the back of his hand. We look forward to your insights, Lieutenant Flanagan.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Just one thing I did want to make mention of, as there are many topics to talk about. The superintendent, following the tragic events that have happened all over the country, but most recently Orlando, Florida, we do have scheduled on the 29th of this month a forum right here to talk about active shooters. So as we go through all these different things, it's a great opportunity. It is posted on our website. And just today, Corporal Walt Sherman, under the direction of the superintendent, did post several pieces of information in support of Lieutenant Block's comment on the distraction burglary. So you can actually take time to read it and send it to anybody if you want. And that's on our main page. Tying in together, as we hear about the different types of calls, the police, as you know, can't do it alone. There needs to be a teamwork amongst the community, in any community, whether it's a small one-horse town or a big city. The more people who are putting eyes on crimes or issues in that particular area, there's more of a success story, and it also creates a partnership. And we're very privileged, as they were already introduced, Jeff and John, who are going to talk about a bigger mission, tying Town Watch together with other citizens, but we are going to specifically dial in on Town Watch. Radnor Town Watch was established April 7th, 1977, and they worked in the two different stations that we had built, and they still are an active part of our community. Radnor Town Watch members are community-minded citizens who are 18 years of age or older who volunteer their time to participate as the extra eyes and ears of the community to keep our township crime-free. Members patrol in their cars equipped with radios. And basically, people live in the area. They do 4 hours a month for patrol duty, and they go out to different areas in the community. What's happened is, and we'll go into this, is we have helped modernize what these guys are doing and making them more a part of the police department with knowledge, but still having great citizens who really know their neighborhoods better than anybody out there patrolling their streets. And there's some great stories, I shouldn't say stories, there's some great examples of what they've done in the last 2 years participating in emergency management in Radnor Township. This obviously being a participant for community service, helping our own town to be safe, learning the geographic field of our township's 13.8 square miles, and several different interactions, whether it be just with the police, the commissioners, township staff, or just themselves. They also had a big push. There's several members who I'm going to show right here. They were awarded recently for between 30 and 50 years of active service to our township, and that was the superintendent awarded this group. Gene Bascom, Lou, a whole bunch of people in there. Those people decided not to sit home. They said, what can we do to be a part of Radnor Township, make this a safer township, and do something about it? And those are what I'll call the founding forefathers, and several of them are still in active role either just giving wisdom to our newer group or actually still going out on patrol and assisting us with different projects. As you can see, we have new leaders, goal-driven mission. It's not just about doing patrol, and Jeff's going to talk about that. It's a citizen-run organization that's supported by Radnor Township. And we've put a modern style assignments to it, so it's not just patrol. So for example, they help with the papal visit, large township events, and they're a big part of our Citizens Police Academy, interacting with new people. Very briefly, Township Manager and a Board of Commissioners, Mr. Zinkowski and our current board, donated a used police car. We were able to repaint it, clean it up a little bit for them, and they actually go out. The township pays for the fuel and the maintenance of the car, so they can actually go out and use that. Joe and his wife actually participate actively and take the car out. It was in the Memorial Day Parade. Town Watch, this is the partnership, actually helped Radnor Township purchase those radios, and not only help purchase those radios, we got an emergency radio system that now Town Watch can use as their primary level of communication, so they can talk portable to portable anywhere in the township, where before it could only call into a base station. If they were close, they would work. So the Town Watch helps support us, and now that emergency frequency is used for all our major disasters and routine stuff where we can talk to the Public Works Department, they can talk to us or Town Watch. So really, the partnership grows. The township gives back, Town Watch gives back. It's phenomenal. Some of their duties specific to that are regular patrol through the township, conduct training for new Town Watch members, which is very important, assist Radnor Police with crime suppression. So for example, during the Villanova basketball championship, you're aware that we had many different officers in that particular area, but we did not want to lose grip on any other areas in the township. So Town Watch was assigned the perimeter outside of Villanova to make sure that those areas were safe. Assist with major events in the township. They're also part of the emergency management team, where if we have major events, they work in the EOC, they volunteer their time to help. And one of the other big things that they do is they recruit new members for Town Watch. And that's where I'm going to lead off. Town Watch is advertising on our township web. There is information and a sign-up sheet that you can actually fill out and mail in. We still need to check you in person and evaluate you, because there's many safety concerns and scrutiny that we go through to make sure each Town Watch member is able to perform their duties. And it's a pretty exciting time here in Radnor for that. And you're going to hear a little bit more about how the mission of Town Watch is getting broader with other volunteer initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go into the Radnor Community Police Organization and other Town Watch information, I'd like to ask you to listen for a moment to Corporal Gallagher. Now, you may not be aware of this, but the League of Women Voters has long advocated for a drug take-back program to protect our source waters from various substances found in pharmaceuticals, anything from birth control pills to mood-enhancing drugs. The law enforcement community has greatly enhanced these efforts to prevent drugs from potential misuse. Radnor citizens are very fortunate to have Corporal Kevin Gallagher in charge of this initiative. Would you please let us know more about Radnor's drug take-back program and related issues, Corporal Gallagher?
Thank you. Good evening. In 2011, I took over just overseeing the drug take-back programs that Radnor participates in. We started with the DEA's National Drug Take-Back Program, and it's, as you mentioned, it's more than just keeping these drugs out of our water sources. It is the majority of prescription drugs, the abusers report through surveys that they got their drugs from family and friends, from going in, raiding the medicine cabinets, taking what's not there. And I know when I go to a doctor, if I have a flu, sitting in the chair, I watch him go across to his cabinets is where he stores everything, where all these drug reps are coming in, and he gives me a little bag, and he's just running down, and he's putting, he's like, oh, you're gonna take this, you're gonna take this. I walk out with about 2 weeks supply, and then on top of that, he gives me a prescription. So by the time I'm done, how much do I have left over? And this happens, and the question is, what do we do with this? So what we did, we started it when I took over in 2011. We started with and we've been doing this for a while, the DEA National Drug Take-Back Initiative. This is done usually on a yearly basis. We just did one April 30th of this year. This was the 11th annual National Drug Take-Back Day. This year, Over 4,200 agencies across the country participated in this. There were 5,400 sites that drop everything off, and they had a record collection of 893,498 pounds of unwanted drugs, 447 tons of drugs. This beat the record of in 2014 where they had 390 tons. So we beat it by about 57 tons this year. Excuse me. We work with, I contact Susan Shapiro with the Senior Center. Usually we do it on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So what I'll do is I'll contact Susan, give her a heads up, say, look, put this out to everybody. They are usually there Monday through Friday. So I said, get a collection together. I'll be up Friday morning. We'll pick everything up to make it easy for them. This is just a matter of making it as easy as possible, as convenient for everyone to turn these drugs over. So it doesn't get in the wrong hands, so someone doesn't use the wrong medication because they got too much, or they just don't know what to do and they ended up flushing it down the toilet. The next thing, we started the Delaware County Heroin Task Force in 2014. We partnered with them, and we now have a permanent drug drop box, and it's downstairs. I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. This allows anyone to come in during regular business hours at the township, go downstairs. It's anonymous, same as the DEA program. We don't want to know who you are. You do not have to have your information on the bottles, and you just drop them in there, and that's a safe way to dispose of this. There are currently 40 drop boxes throughout Delaware County. Also working with the DA's office in Delaware County, Delaware County officers are the first in the world to start administering a newly developed nasal version of naloxone for emergency treatment of opioid overdose. Excuse me. This is referred to as Narcan. Probably have heard of this. It is currently in over approximately 400 police vehicles throughout Delaware County. This has been provided by the Delaware County Council through federal grants. Each car has, I believe, 2 4 milligram doses of the nasal spray. So Radnor participates in this. Actually, every department in Delaware County has this. Next, according to experts, the use of drugs is increasing among teens, and with painkillers being the most abused drug after tobacco, alcohol, and marijuana. Sports medicines, and this is actually what we did this year, the first year. We partnered with Radnor School District and Agnes Irwin along with the National Drug Take Back. They put the word out to the parents. Again, the Friday before, it would have been April 29th, between 7 a.m., 11 a.m. I was at Agnes Irwin. We had an officer up at the Radnor High School to take these drugs back. And in talking with these parents, it's amazing. Again, it's anonymous. Thank you for participating in this. The one thing with this area is sports. Both the public schools, the private schools have very good sports programs. Along with the sports programs comes injuries. And talking to these parents and the amount of the painkillers that came through was amazing. And everyone was like, thank you, we didn't know what to do with this. And this is where if you can't get rid of this, they have the extra in the medicine cabinet. And I know personally, we had a call, it's probably going about 2 years ago now, from CVS in Wayne. They had a suspicious person in there just trying to buy needles, and it just didn't seem right. So we got him coming out the side exit, and he had purchased a large box of needles. We stopped, we started talking to him. 18-year-old, I'm not a big person myself, as a police officer, very small person. And after talking to him, he admitted he had been on painkillers. Once the prescription runs out, they don't know what to do. Once you get hooked on this, the prescription runs out, you don't know what to do, they switch to heroin. Excuse me. What this kid was going to do was take these needles that he's bought, get on the R5, and go to Overbrook. And he wouldn't have survived. I mean, he's just a little kid from the main line, just not going to survive out there. So this is where it starts. This is what these programs are designed to do. Again, this is what the box looks like downstairs. Again, it is available, not just Radnor residents, it's anyone that has these medications. It is there, it is available to everybody. And then the one big question I know, especially during the drug take back, is what do we take back? What is accepted? Prescription medication, obviously. Anything over the counter, it does not have to be a prescription. NyQuil, it will take liquids, gels, ointments, any type of, as long as it's in a container. Pills does not have to be in the original container. It just can't be loose. They ask you, just put it in a Ziploc bag, it's fine. Take your name off. I know the DEA, they would like that, they prefer that, they want to keep everything anonymous. When you come in, we're not going to ask you what it is, who you are, we're going to say there's a drug drop box, please put it in there. This year was the first time, and I don't have the notes with me from this year, but Every year leading up to this year, they take prescription, they take over-the-counter medications. They did not take illegal drugs, your marijuana, your cocaine, and everything else. This year with the DEA, they didn't specify either way. What they had done in previous years was they said to the police department, take it as abandoned property, and then just process it through the way that we would normally handle something, going through our chain of evidence and then destroying it. But again, it's just to get everything off the streets. The only thing we will not take are needles, any type of sharp objects, and people have expressed, how do we get rid of these? And I do believe if you call the township, and I've talked to our trash people before, if you make arrangements, they're going to have you put it in a laundry detergent, which is a very thick plastic bottle, and mark it on top of the trash can. I'm not telling you to do that. Contact the township first, but I do believe they will make the accommodation for you to do that. And I think that's pretty much all I have for my program.
Thank you so much.
If I could just add a little bit of levity here. If you go downstairs, our drug take-back bin is right next to our vending machines. I don't know who planned that, but that's where it is. And on a serious note, because we want our residents to have the highest level of trust in their officers, to show we have the highest level of integrity, we are currently in negotiations with the FOP to start random drug testing for our officers. Because we would be naive to think that it doesn't even affect law enforcement. And one of the substances that our officers will also be tested for, in addition to the obvious drugs, is steroids. Because a lot of young officers, get involved with this performing enhancing drug, and we have to make sure that we don't have any officers that are involved in that. So it's coming. The random drug testing is coming. I just don't know when, but it's coming.
Thank you. In case of emergency, we all call 911. Well, just what happens when you do so, and what are you required to report? Our next panelist, Steve Giancristoforo, serves as an information technology coordinator in Radnor and also as the radio systems manager for the Delaware County Department of Emergency Services. This evening, he will provide valuable insight into how the 911 system works and your role as a member of the public. Mr. Giancristoforo.
Thank you very much, and good evening. One of my duties as a manager at the 911 Center is to make sure that the radio systems are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I also serve as a training officer there, so I train the new people when they come in off the street to become call takers and then move up the chain to police dispatchers and fire dispatchers. I'm here tonight to give you a little bit of insight about how we function, where we are, what we do, and how best to deal with a problem and how best to notify us if you need us. The first and foremost thing about 911 in Delaware County is you use it for everything. It's not just for emergencies. 911 in Delaware County is for emergencies or non-emergencies. Whenever you require the response of a police vehicle, a fire truck, or an ambulance, you use 911. When you dial 911, once you dial that second one, that call is going to be connected to us whether you hang up or not. So even if you dialed by mistake, please stay on the phone. Someone will pick up and just tell them it's a mistake and you'll be fine. If you do hang up, though, what will happen is the call will still go through. We'll answer it. There'll be nobody there. And then very shortly after that, you'll get a knock on your door from a police officer checking to make sure you're okay. So the first and foremost thing I want to tell you is that 911 is there for you. We operate, obviously, 24/7, 365. The center is located out on Route 352. Right next between Fair Acres and the Juvenile Detention Center. Our staff is approximately 155 people. 35 of them are administrative folks like myself who keep things running, and the rest are our sworn personnel who operate the telephones and operate the radios. We have three groups of people that work there. We have call takers, we have police dispatchers, and we have fire dispatchers. We are the second busiest in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We are second only to the city of Philadelphia. We handle more calls than the city of Pittsburgh, the cities of Reading. We have the most densely populated township in Delaware County, Upper Darby. We have very unique situations in Delaware County with regards to hazardous materials, with regards to, we have a stadium in Delaware County. We have limited access highways in Delaware County. We handle on an average 1,250 to 1,500 calls a day for service. Out of that, approximately 20% are emergencies and 80% are non-emergencies. We usually have 6 to 10 call takers on a shift, and then we have 7 police sectors and usually 3 to 4 fire dispatchers on a shift. When you dial 911, you're connected first with a 911 call taker. The call taker will first want to know very specific information about, first and foremost, where you are. Go to any 911 center in the world and ask the call takers what's the first question they're going to ask you, and it's always where. We need to know where you need help, or where you are, or where the situation is. The reason we want where first is because that if the call becomes disconnected with us, we can at least send somebody somewhere. If we don't have a location, we can't send someone to help you. So the first and foremost thing they're going to ask you is, where's the problem? Once you give that, the second thing we're going to ask you is what it is. What's the nature of your problem? Not everything is an emergency, and again, we handle everything from barking dogs to vandalism to juveniles creating problems to murders to attempted suicides to everything down the pike. We handle, our call takers are trained for 4 full months to handle any type of call that comes in. The call taker is going to ask you certain questions. The quicker you can answer those questions, the quicker you'll get help. You do not have to give your name. That's one of the most important things. If you want to remain anonymous, you shall remain anonymous. Okay, that's very, very important. We do not require it, although we will ask you for your name and for your address and for your telephone number. And again, if you don't want to give it, you don't have to. Once we get certain pieces of information, we're going to ship that call automatically via a computer-aided dispatch or CAD system to a police dispatcher. If it's a police call, or if your call's fire EMS, they're going to transfer you and the call directly to a fire dispatcher. Fire dispatcher are our most seasoned employees at the 911 center. They will ask you certain questions. They will also provide pre-arrival instructions on certain types of medical emergencies, cardiac arrests, choking, impending deliveries, and uncontrolled external bleeding. If your call is one of those 4, they will stay on the phone with you and assist you in providing care for that person until the first responders arrive on the scene. So if you're calling with a police problem, the call taker will take your call and ask you where it is, what it is, your information, and any other particular details. It's not that we're newsy, folks. It's that the police want to know what they're going on. And we want to try to give them as much information as possible. We try to handle all of our calls within 45 seconds. That's the average time it takes to handle a call. Once the information is in, now if it's a hot call where it's going to require an immediate police response, what we'll do is just get very pertinent information from you, put it into the CAD system, ship it over, and even while we still have you on the phone, the police dispatcher will put it out to the police will be en route to your location, and then you'll give additional information. As you're giving additional information, that information will then be typed into the CAD and shipped to the police dispatcher. So even while you're still on the phone on a hot call, the police will be en route. And again, if it's a fire EMS call, they're going to tell you, stay on the phone, we're going to connect you to a fire dispatcher, do not hang up. Those are the exact words they're going to use. You stay on the phone, you're going to hear a click, a beep, and a boop, and it's going to ring again, and the fire dispatcher is going to say, fire and ambulance. And then you tell the fire dispatcher what the problem is. They are specially trained to handle medical emergencies and fire emergencies. They have specific questions they're going to ask you, especially if you're reporting a fire. What type of fire is it? Is there hazardous materials involved? Are there spills involved? Are there wires down? Different things like that. We handle every call usually within 45 seconds, okay? Some of our busiest times are during thunderstorms, during weather events. The recent very severe thunderstorm was quick but severe that we had about a week and a half ago. We handled 500 calls for service in 30 minutes. So if you take 10 call takers, 500 calls, that's 50 calls each in 30 minutes. That's less than, that's almost incredible. There are times when we're pushed to the max, okay? But our people are very seasoned, they're very well trained, they know what information to ask. Don't ever be hesitant to tell them things. Yes, everything is recorded, but again, if you don't want to give your name, you don't have to, okay? The information is kept private. There are specific rules and regulations about disseminating that information. and it's only upon court order can we release that information. Do we know who you are? We used to know who everyone was when it was very simple and everybody had a landline phone, okay? When you called, your information, what we call Annie Alley, would display on our screens, and we would know exactly who's calling or who pays the phone bill for that phone. Today, we're only getting about 25% of our calls through landline. Everything is coming in through cell. So no, we don't know who you are when you call with a cell, okay? Usually we're going to get cell site information. We're not going to get your information yet. It's coming. The technology is increasing, but it's taking many, many, many months to get the cell companies to provide us with what we call phase 2 information, which is the actual caller's information. The majority of our calls today are coming in by cell phone. So it's now even more important for you to stay on the phone with us and tell us exactly, give us the answers that we need so we're able to send you help. Because like I said, we can try, if you're working with a good phone and you have GPS on your phone, we can try to track it down to where you're standing. But again, that's only an approximate location. So the best way to get information is by asking the caller. Do we have text to 911 in Delaware County? Not yet. We are getting it. It's in the works. But believe it or not, the text to 911, although it's been touted across the country as the way it's going, the centers that have implemented it have not really gotten a big response to it. It just sits there and no one ever uses it. So yes, we are, because it's a standard of care, we are getting text to 911. It's not in place yet. If you use it now in Delaware County, it's going to tell you that Delaware County does not support it yet. Please dial 911. So to sum up, we are there for you 24/7, 365. We have dedicated folks that sit in a room, and we have an adage at the 911 center: no one ever calls 911 because they're happy about anything. Never. Only one time, when someone's having a baby, they're happy, okay? Any other time, they're not. So our people are trained to handle people who are intoxicated, people who are very angry, people who are out of control. Our people are trained for 4 full months. We start with a class of 30, and we end up with 6 or 7. That's how tough our training program is. We're there to help you. We're there to assist you. All we ask is that try to cooperate with us as best you can. We know that situations are different sometimes. Situations are tough to deal with sometimes. We deal with young children. We are taught to deal with young children. We're taught to deal with elderly who have a hard time hearing. We have telecommunications for the deaf. We have all the toys. But the best method of getting information is questioning, okay? And it's been tried and true throughout every 911 center in the world. So again, you don't have to give us your information. You can remain anonymous if you want, but please, 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 if you see something that's out of place or doesn't seem right, no matter you may think it's trivial or not, please call us, because something that you may think is trivial could be something major, and we want to know about it. Thank you.
Steve, real quickly, could you just address if the satellite bounces their cell phone signal and it goes to Montgomery County?
Okay.
How that works?
Yes. Let's say you have a cell phone and you have T-Mobile and you're standing on Township Line Road, okay, and you're in Radnor Township. But when you dial 911, the cell site for T-Mobile is located over in Lower Merion. Lower Merion is going to get your call, okay, because it goes to the cell site. Wherever that cell site that you're hitting, that's the 911 center you're going to get. When you call Delaware County Emergency Services, you're not going to hear anything about 911, and you're not going to hear anything about emergency. We don't say 911, where's your emergency, or anything like that. We say 3 words: police, fire, and ambulance, and our dispatcher number. If you hear anything other than that, you haven't reached Delaware County. All you need to do is tell that person, whether you've gotten Chester County or Philadelphia or Gloucester or Montgomery County, all you have to tell that person is, transfer me to Delaware County. They do what we call a one-button transfer. They can transfer your Annie Alley information and your call directly to us so that we can get your call and talk directly to you. So remember, wherever your cell tower is that you're hitting, that's the 911 center you're going to get. And Radnor's in a unique situation because you've got Montgomery County on one side, Chester County on the other. It's very conceivable that you could get Chester County or Montgomery County if you're somewhere on Route 30. So remember that. If you hear anything other than police, fire, and ambulance, 3 words, you've gotten the wrong place. Don't hang up. Just tell them, transfer me to Delaware County. Okay, they have the ability to do that.
You know, one of the most chilling like Steve mentioned about the 911 hang-up calls, the reason that's so important, one of the most chilling public service announcements I've ever seen, and you may have seen this, a woman is ordering a pizza, and the dispatcher says, "Ma'am, do you realize you just called 911? She says, "Yes, and I would like pepperoni as well, and a soda." And you know why she was doing that, right? She was a victim of domestic violence, and she had to pretend that she was ordering a pizza. So that's why anytime you call 911, we'll send somebody, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Next on our panel is Jeffrey Stacy. He's a Radnor resident who approached the police department in 2014 and encouraged them to conduct a Citizens Police Academy. He's eager to tell us more about this program and how it serves to build trust and expand the services that a local police force can provide. Radnor has now completed 2 such programs. Mr. Stacy, will you please elaborate for us?
Sure. Thank you very much, Roberta, and for the league for asking me to come and talk about about Town Watch, but also about the Citizens Police Academy and the Radnor Community Police Organization, or RCPO. Back probably 3 years ago, I was playing golf with a friend of mine, and he was telling me about the Citizens Police Academy that he participated in and the work that they do with their local police department. I thought that's a pretty interesting program, and so we talked about that for a few hours, and I ended up meeting with that police department and checking into a couple of other police departments to see what types of programs they do. And I learned something very interesting. There are a lot of townships in and around the Pennsylvania area that run citizens police academies. None of them have, once you're finished with the police academy, there's nothing to do. So I wanted to also create an organization where once you've gone through this amazing program, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the program that that the Radnor Police Department built, because it is truly world class, and we've had a number of police chiefs and others who've come to see the program, who have come to participate in the program, and without a doubt, this is the finest Citizens Police Academy that's being run out there today. So there needed to be a place for us to take all of this knowledge that we're learning about through a Citizens Police Academy, as well as all of the teamwork and the collaboration and the relationships that we're building, attending this program for 9 weeks, 2 to 3 hours a week with the police department. And Lieutenant Flanagan mentioned the word teamwork and partnership. And that's really what I was thinking about when I thought about this Citizens Police Academy, and how do we as a community start working closer together to make a safer community, and how do we start working more together with our police department and our township managers to make a safer community. The wonderful part and the wonderful news for all of us in Radnor is that we have a board of commissioners and a township manager and a police command staff and department that really believe in this type of program and really poured their hearts and souls into this, and it was very evident. So. So the whole idea was that we build this organization where we can all work together. So we have a board. We're currently working on reinstating our nonprofit status. There's really 4 areas of the RCPO. We'll talk about Town Watch last, because we'll be spending more time focusing on the Town Watch. But it was, how do we tie all of these community-based volunteer groups that are focused around public safety together, so that we're coordinating resources and communication. So the first, we use the Citizens Police Academy program as a way to do training. The idea behind it is that we understand more how the police department operates. We understand what they do, why they do what they do. I will tell you that the detective night, investigation night, is probably one of the favorite nights, because all of the students get a chance to, to swab things and take fingerprints, and people love to swab things. But anyway, so the whole idea is that by better understanding how the police department operates, we build a trust with what they're doing, and they're getting to know us and building a trust with us. And so now we can start working together and helping the police department with their mission. So that's the Citizens Police Academy. The CERT is first responder training. So there's a group of folks inside of the RCPO who volunteer to help with emergency management and special projects. We mentioned the papal visit. The 45, at that time, 45 members of the RCPO logged over 800 man-hours of work preparing for and executing during that papal visit. That's a lot of work and a lot of dedication from that group, and so we're pretty proud of that. But the one thing we're building out some special programs as well. As we grow our membership, we're looking to do some school programs. We're looking to do some elderly assistance programs. Lieutenant Block talked about the house watch when you're gone on vacation. Well, there are a lot of elderly folks who don't have family that live in the area. So it'd be a good thing to check on those folks from time to time as well. So we're looking at some of those things. Town Watch, as of about 2 years ago, was relatively defunct. There were about 5 members left of Town Watch. It was fairly inactive. And we saw that as a kind of the main pillar of the RCPO and a way to really publicly be the face of the work that we're doing around public safety. So Town Watch currently has about 15 active members, maybe a little bit more than that. We've just graduated our second Citizens Police Academy class, so we'll be adding to that role. But the Town Watch, we, in addition to supporting all of the police events and township events, we also do Friday night patrols, and that's every Friday night between 7 and 11 p.m. We are looking to expand that once we again grow our membership, and it's a numbers game, right? So if we have 14 people, 2-person patrols means every 7 weeks you go out for 4 hours. If I have 28 people, I can now add Friday and Saturday night every 7 weeks. So I would encourage everyone to go to the Township website, and we're working on a section of the website for RCPO, and to fill out an application and volunteer to join Town Watch. It's not a lot of time, and you'll have some senior folks who will train you, and you'll get an opportunity to meet some folks that in the township that you probably hadn't met before. So it's a terrific organization. John Tolucci is the head of our Town Watch group, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the specifics around Town Watch. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our final panelist this evening is John Tolucci, another Radnor resident whom you've heard about. John is most involved in the Radnor Citizens Police Organization and, most importantly, Town Watch. We're eager to hear how this group operates, how they help our citizens, and how others might become involved in such operations. Thank you, John.
I'll make this quick. I don't have a lot of slides. Basically, I run Town Watch, and run Town Watch. We basically have Friday night 4-hour shifts, and we basically go around the township and we assist the police department with areas that might have some increased activity, which is generally not a good thing. And what we do is we patrol these areas. We don't engage anyone. We don't get involved. We basically observe. Stay at a distance. You don't want to become part of the problem, but more part of the solution. And by just creating a presence out there, which is what we're doing, by driving around in a marked Town Watch car, it basically, if someone's going to do something, they're not going to do it when you're there. So what we're looking for is trying to engage more members of our community. There's roughly 34,000 people who live in Radnor Township. And we have 15 active people. If we had 50 active people, we could have, as Jeff said, patrols Friday and Saturday nights, which is really the driver in regenerating and reestablishing Town Watch. As Jeff had mentioned, just 2 years ago, Town Watch was pretty much a dormant organization. Two things that come to mind that every resident in this township should be aware of is just basically, it's just common sense with your property and just being aware. Don't leave your garage doors open at night with the light shining on inside. Don't leave your cars unlocked with your purse and valuables and so forth, as others have mentioned. But be aware. If something doesn't look right, or if you just get a funny feeling that maybe something's out of place, don't ignore it. React to it. Maybe investigate. What is it that's out of place? Because at that point, if you ignore it and 3 months goes down the road, any evidence that might have been there is now lost. But just be aware of your surroundings. I mean, we do live in a great community. We're pretty much insulated from a lot of what goes on around, cities and so forth. But, with the economy as it is, this insulation bubble is getting a little smaller. And I think we just need to be a little more aware of where we live and the people around us. It's not a bad thing, but just be aware. Walking down the sidewalk, texting, and not being aware of where you are or who's around you, it's just not, it's not very smart. And just as a society in general, I think it's important that the Town Watch become a little more of the norm rather than the exception, especially as as our township continues to grow. Other than that, it's a great organization, great people. The township has been incredibly supportive. The police department. I'm a member of one of the first classes of the CPA. We've had 2 classes so far. How great is it to have a founding father? I mean, not one of the original, but one of the founding fathers.
I'm not that old.
But it's just the whole program from start to finish, the 9-week course that we took, the participation from all of the police officers. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, every night I'd go home and talk to my wife till 1 o'clock in the morning, and she's like, I need to get up at 5:30. But it was just very, very exhilarating, very exciting. And if you have any interest in volunteering and getting involved with something that's going to directly affect you in a positive way, this is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we open questions, I would like to also mention that T.J. Schreiber is here this evening. He's the gentleman in the plain clothes. He's a detective, and he will also be willing to answer questions if there's something that comes to his attention that needs an answer. Now, as we open the forum up to questions, we again request that you raise your hand, and a league member will come to you with a microphone. You will be called on by the moderator, which will be Ann, and address your questions to one of the panelists. The panelists, I hope, can push the button in front of your microphone and respond, and other panelists may wish to elaborate if they feel they would like to add to the response. Again, keep your questions short and focused. Now, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll begin.
Hi, my name is Jane Galley. I live on Barclayton Road in Rosemont. I have a question for our 911 gentleman. When they have, this has been a question for lots of things. When they ask you what's the closest cross street or what's the right answer to that? Because sometimes I'm not, I go, well, it's right here and here. No, do you have anything bigger than that? I'm like, no, that's where I am.
A lot of times what will happen is we have a streets database that when you call in and we take your address and put it into our streets database, it comes up with the closest corresponding streets. We just want to verify that where we're sending the police is the right location. So sometimes we may have 2 addresses of the same town with the same street names or close street names. When they're asking you for a cross street, they're just verifying the address to make sure we're going to send the police to the right location. Okay? Thank you. All righty.
Hi, my name is Heidi Scheer. I have a question for Lieutenant Andy Block. I know there was a time limit, so I would like to hear more about the scams. There was one pigeon drop scam I don't know of, but I read it on the page.
Actually, I will absolutely, I can defer to Detective Schreiber because he's one of the detectives that investigates this type on the money scam, the pigeon drop with the depositing the money and whatnot.
What they'll try to do is they'll try to get you to put money on a green card, a green dot card. So somebody asks you to go to, say, CVS or Rite Aid and say, transfer $10,000 and give me the card number. It's a complete scam. You'll also see scams with, if you try to sell a car on Craigslist, things like that. You may sell a car and they're going to give you an offer. I'll send you a check. Say you're trying to sell a car for $2,000. I'm going to send you $3,500. Put it in your bank and send me back $500. What's going to happen is you're going to send that amount and it's going to bounce in your account days later, and then you're going to be out the full amount. So if you see somebody sends you a check for something, it's a scam. You can bring that in and we would take that as evidence.
There are many variations of that pigeon drop. It started out many, many years ago when somebody walking in front of you just happened to find a big wad of cash and they're willing to split it with you. But to make sure you don't go to the police in good faith, you would go to the bank and take some of your money out and combine it with the money they found, and then they'd split it with you. Problem is, the pack that you'd have would be plain paper and they would make off with the cash. But like the detective said, they became more elaborate now, where you'll get a call that you won the lottery, but you have to pay for the processing fee. So if you would wire them $300, you'll get your lottery winnings. And some people are so stubborn that when people go to the Giant or the CBS to get these money cards, the cashiers try to tell them, you're being scammed, let me call the police. And some people refuse. They think they really won. The old adage, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So. Another quick scam for you, especially for the seniors. Seniors, and I mean this in a most wonderful way, are very trusting because they came from a different generation, you know. And here's a scam that works all the time. My mom, who's 89 years old, she gets a phone call. Mom, it's me. What's the first thing she's going to say? Bill? Yes. Well, listen, I got in an accident. I'm okay, but I need money for the tow company. I'm going to send my friend Andy to the house. Okay? And then Andy shows up. Hey, how you doing, Mrs. Colarulo? Bill called you, right? Yeah, I'm here to get the money for the tow truck. Just when you think you figured out every way, they come up with a no one. So, real quick, would you mind, Ms. Winters, I don't know where she went. I wanted Lieutenant Flanagan to talk about something we have that sits on the top of our police car that's incredible. So, Chris, you want to talk about that?
Yes, Chief. The township put in it for a grant from Delaware County, and it actually falls under Steve and his team, but the county has what we call automatic license plate readers. One of our cars, you're going to see two, looks like two small cubes on the back end of one of our Ford Explorers. That is an actual automated license plate reader that is scanning as many tags as it can go by. It will scan, run that tag for information, and if there's any type of alert, it will sound a small alarm inside the car, and then the officer can take action based upon that alarm. And sometimes they're going to a call. Obviously, they can't divert from like a medical emergency, but often you'll see them sitting on Lancaster Avenue, and that car has to always be out on patrol. One of the great things is that it never takes a break. Even if the officer isn't in the car, if vehicles go by, it actually collects data and can put a time. We do a search for a particular vehicle. Anything that comes up later on, a discovered burglary that the detectives may be on, and that car was in that sector, there's a chance that it may have gone past the license plate reader. It's an extremely advanced piece of equipment. And in the future, you'll see more of them on police cars, probably all through the United States. But in particular, Pennsylvania, we hope to see more because they're going to be getting rid of the your annual stickers that go on your license plate, the small little plastic stickers, and hopefully they'll be issuing more grant money to the counties, which oversee how they're distributed, and hopefully Radnor Police will get some more. But I believe, Steve, everybody in Delaware almost everybody has one, right?
Yes. Mostly all the police departments have them now. Some have more than one. They're especially useful in areas where there's limited access highways, where a car can park on the side of the road and literally scan hundreds of vehicles, every few minutes. And they've been very, very effective on tracking down wanted persons, stolen vehicles, along with expired, suspended operators. But they've been very, very effective. They're all tied through wireless cards back to a central database in Philadelphia. It's updated every day. As soon as a police officer enters a car and stolen, through Clean NCIC, it actually goes into this database, and they're even looking at ways to put stationary cameras out to scan tags at different locations. That's not yet in place, but there are more and more ALPR, or automatic license plate readers, going out daily. So you'll see them on the tops of police cars.
And remember,
you.
if you had like an Amber Alert or a missing person, Andy had a case a couple of years ago where a woman left here and she had Alzheimer's and she was all the way down in Maryland. The automatic license plate reader would have found her a lot sooner. Luckily, she was found safe and sound. But just goes to show you, it's not all about finding a stolen license plate. There are other things that can be used for it, too.
We're just going to check and see if there are any more questions from the audience, and then Roberta built in time for each of you to do a 3 or 5 minute wrap up. Any more questions from the audience? All right, shall we start with Corporal Gallagher and just work our way across? If there anything else that you want to fill us in, this extra information's been great. So if everybody wants 3 to 5 minutes, that would be terrific.
I think, again, just wrapping up with what I had covered, and with anything, if we had talked about a lot of different topics tonight, but we're here all the time. We're here 24/7. Whether you have a question now or you have a question at 3 o'clock in the morning, please call, ask, anything. But in relation to the drug take-back, we are here all the time, and it is something not only just for you, but it's for your family. When, unfortunately, I think we all have stories here. When you get into drugs, it doesn't affect the individual, it affects the family, and it affects the community. So I think it's, thank you.
I'm not doing this right. Thank you. Lieutenant Flanagan?
I just want to end that our website has many access points to the things that we talked about, including the Town Watch application, and our Citizens Police Academy, with the Chief's approval, will be next year. We do one a year, so we look forward to more Radnor citizens joining that. And please don't forget, as we talked about the different crimes, that we have a free notification system that you can sign on for free, and you can pick different types of notifications, or you can pick all of the notifications so that you can stay on top of the things that we talked about tonight, whether it's a new Citizens Police class or a particular type of crime. But that is on our website, and I appreciate being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Lieutenant Block?
Thank you very much. Just to wrap up, again, it was a pleasure to be invited to this forum this evening. I think it's very important. And we talk about our community and how great a community is. The one thing that I would put out there, and based on what John Tolucci said, for your personal safety, always be aware of your surroundings. That's important. Equally important is that if you see something, say something. Call 911. Many times we talk to people, residents after the fact, and they say, I didn't want to call 911, it wasn't a true emergency. You heard from Steve G. and Christopher this evening. 911 in Delaware County is for everything. There's a triage system, a priority system, and it's so important that you call so we can get that complaint found and investigated. And in addition to that, the other thing I would say is, as far as community goes, is know thy neighbors, know your neighbors. The younger generations, our millennials, are more of the tech generation, so they have less contact with their neighbors and their neighborhood. And that's evident from time to time when we're going around doing canvassing as a result of a recent crime. And we'll knock on the doors of the residents and we'll say, this occurred, did you speak to your neighbor about it? And we're kind of surprised and taken back there. So there's a lot of people that don't know who their neighbor is, to the left or the right. So we always promote that, the community that knows one another. All right, it's better, because if you're looking out your window and you see somebody going up to your neighbor's house, if you speak to your neighbor, what's expected or what occurs on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And again, if it's something outside of that, notify 911. But again, it was a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think we'll go back to Mr. Tolucci, and then we'll work our way back and end with the police chief. Mr. Tolucci?
I think just going with what Andy mentioned about just awareness is the one thing that the Town Watch will do is it'll make you more aware of everything that happens in the community, not just where you live, but just the entire community, especially areas that could be a problem. So if your kids are in those areas, you know they're up to no good. Just kidding, just kidding. But one thing that I would like to say about the Town Watch is that it's not just for just all the adults. We are also focusing on building a junior Town Watch because all the young kids in this community at some point will be living here, and we'd like to engage them and involve them in the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stacy?
I will just end by saying that a lot of times people in a community don't feel they can make a difference. They don't feel that they can maybe feel a little helpless. If you are looking to make a difference as it pertains to public safety and as it pertains to your neighborhood safety, then Town Watch is a terrific way to go about it. It doesn't take a lot of time, and it makes a huge difference, the time that you give. So I would just ask that if you're interested in participating, to go to the website and fill out an application.
That's great. Mr. Cristoforo?
Thank you. Just want to conclude by saying on behalf of the 150 people, 30 of them are working right now down there to keep the citizens safe and keep the police and the firefighters safe and going in the right direction. I want to thank you all for having me here tonight. It's a pleasure. Just want to wrap up by saying, please, please call us if something doesn't seem right. For those of you who have children and grandchildren, please tell them to call us. I go out to the schools and I give talks to kids, and a lot of kids are scared to call 911 because I think they're going to get chastised for it. And basically, we're there to take any type of problem that you're having, menial or not. Some things which seem menial end up to be major situations. So we're there to help. We also have a road show too, which I didn't mention earlier. We have 2 large trucks that we go out on SWAT calls. We go out, like on the Villanova, that we were here for both of the big events. We can take our communication show and put it in a truck and have dispatchers and call takers, and we can do many, many things from our vehicles now. So we have the ability to go out whenever you hear a SWAT call, go out in Delaware County, or a hostage situation, or a drug sweep or something like that. We're there. You may not see us in the forefront, but we're there. We're there assisting the police. We're there assisting the fire and EMS. And our primary goal is to make sure that when you need help, we're going to get people coming to you as quickly and as efficiently as possible. All we need for you to do is answer a few questions, and we'll get you all the help we need. Thank you.
And Chief Colarulo.
You know, the Radnor Township Police Department offers a myriad of public service, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for, courtesies. We would even come to your house for a sick assist if you have an elderly person or a person who's invalid. We will help that person, put them to bed for you if you can't handle it on your own. We will find your dog for you. We do a lot of community-oriented services. But first and foremost, the one thing I want you to remember, never forget we are in the crime-fighting business, first and foremost, because if you don't feel safe in your community, nothing else matters. And that's the one mantra we follow all the time, and we're all on board with that. We have more people that are members of the Delaware County SWAT than we've ever had. We've started a narcotics unit. We have more detectives. We use our officers in plainclothes capacities. We have an anti-crime team. We do sting operations, and if it's a big arrest, you will see it on the news. Sometimes I get criticized. People say, you know, nothing happened in Radnor until you got out there. And I said, well, maybe it always happened, but you never heard about it. And I'm not going to have a massage parlor in this neighborhood that's been operating for 4 years, and then we find out they were guilty of human trafficking. And it turned out to be a bigger thing than we even thought. You know, I'm not going to have people sell drugs to the people in our community and just get away with it on a slap of the wrist. Crime fighting is the most important thing we do, because if you don't feel safe in your neighborhood, nothing else matters. That's why it's so successful that we have the Town Watch and the Citizens Police Academy. I mean, you know, we got Dr. Joe and his wife Fran here. The people that went through the Citizens Police Academy, I never saw the level of enthusiasm I see when they're going through the program and then after they graduate, and how they still participate. We even did something called Santa's Delivery. Talk about community services we've done, right? The police department, the fire department goes to kids' houses, delivers toys. They helped us with that. So it's not all about fighting crime either. But again, first and foremost, we're in the crime fighting business, and we're doing that so you don't have to worry about your kid playing in the yard or you walking to the corner store, because first and foremost, you have to feel safe in your community. Thank you.
Thank you, and Roberta left this closing statement. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Radnor, we wish to thank the Township for the use of their facilities and the cooperation of our Radnor Police Department and the expertise of the staff who have allowed this program to be aired live and also taped for later viewing. We'd also like to remind the public that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization open to both men and women who wish to help to educate the public on key issues and help make democracy work at the local, state, and national levels. We believe now more than ever our role is of great importance. Check us out on our website, lwvradnor.org. Thank you very much for participating. Thank you, gentlemen, for your help tonight, and good evening.